Hello and welcome. Hi, hello everybody. You're all coming in. Thanks so much for joining us. Hello. Nice to see you. Hey Mel. Hi guys. Good to see you all. Hi Mary. Hi Sue and Judy. Hello. Sharon's joining us too. Hello. Nice to see you. You're joining us from all over Australia. It's really wonderful to see so much interest in this topic around equity and access in wills. So it's just wonderful that everyone is able to join us and make time and space to have this discussion today. Before we kick off, please feel free to unmute yourself and just verbally say hello. Go for it.
Hello.
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 Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Hi, Bonnie. Hi, everyone.
Hi, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Hi, everyone.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Hi, all. Nice to see you.
Wonderful. Thanks so much, everybody. This is the ACEN Critical Conversations. And before we start, I'd like to take a moment to acknowledge the traditional custodians of land and all the lands that you may be resting on right now, and pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging. The knowledge that we create today in this virtual space, I also want to recognise that the knowledge that is historically grounded in the countries that we all sit on, and pay my respects. So today we're going to focus on equity and access. This is a huge topic in the WIL space, but it's an exciting one. And I'm really looking forward to the opportunity to hear your perspectives and your experiences and learn a little bit about what you do in your space as well. My name is Dr. Bonnie Dean. I work at the University of Wollongong and I sit on the ACEN Board of Directors. And I'm joined by 5 facilitators today. So what we'll do is we'll have a presentation from a student and a presentation from Associate Professor Amani Bell, who's doing some work in this space. Then we'll go into our breakout rooms. Facilitators, I'd love it if you could just give us a bit of a wave if I go around and just introduce you. So we've got Rachel Barron from La Trobe, Jennifer Rowley from USyd, Annette Marlowe from UTAS, Kate Clifford from UQ, and Liz Bracken from CSU. Thank you so much, facilitators. Facilitators are either on the board of directors of ACEN or on the state chapters. So thanks for joining us. Now, if we have a technological fail, what I'll get you to do is to log out and just log straight back on to the same link. If that doesn't work for you, hang around by your email and I'll provide some more instructions to you. I think it's fabulous. We've got a cat joining us today, Vida. How fabulous. I love feline and sort of any sort of animal contributions and participations in work. So feel free to invite any of your children or any other sort of canines into this critical conversation today. All right, let's kick off. I want to introduce you to Jose Escobar. Jose is an advocate for inclusivity in higher education, and he is an undergraduate student studying the Bachelor of Mechanical Engineering at the University of Queensland. Jose has been willing to come and speak to us today about some of his experiences around supporting other students, as you know, and also his story himself as well, in terms of accessing higher education. So Jose, I would love to hand over to you. And as we do that, could I please ask that everyone else turns off their videos just while we listen to Jose speak? That would be great to save some bandwidth and so that we can also focus on Jose too. Thank you, Jose, and over to you.
Oh, thank you. Just to confirm, Bonnie, it's 5 minutes, right? So I can have the time,
That'd
correct?
be wonderful.
All right, cool. Well, hello, everyone. It's a pleasure to participate in this event today. My name is Jose Escobar, and I'm originally from Ecuador in Latin America. So my mother language is Spanish. And my background, as Bonnie said, is engineering. I study mechanical engineering at UQ. And a bit of more about my background from my home country is that I also had challenges going through my school and high school times in terms of accessing to education, unfortunately, because of financial hardship. And this is a very common problem still in Latin America. It's something that unfortunately the governments haven't been able to solve effectively. So that has also been for me a motivation to pursuing my dreams to go to study abroad in one of the best universities in the world. So eventually, after I finished high school, I received a scholarship from my government after I completed a national exam, which is one of the programs that we have in Ecuador. Once you finish high school, you have to see the national exam, and the government grants international scholarships to the best students, the ones that got the best results. So that for me was a generous opportunity from my government to allow me to access to a different type of education that I could have never achieved back in my home country. And that also has been for me also a motivation to continue advocating for accessible and affordable education, because if it wasn't for this scholarship, I would have never had the opportunity to come here, to study in Australia, participate in a variety of projects, develop professionally, to receive other scholarships that I've been fortunate enough to receive from a university. But also at the same time, this background of me going through access to education, lack of access to education, also motivated me to create my own social enterprise, which is called Tutoria. And Tutoria is an educational platform mainly focused on creating educational content of science and engineering to transfer our knowledge from the top universities in the world back to Latin America. Our team is mainly conformed of Latin American students who have received scholarships from our governments. So what we do is we reteach what we have been learning, with the goal of transferring our knowledge and skills back to the young generation, so we can make sure that they don't have the same challenges that we had back in those days. Other things that we do is also we provide affordable academic support to students who can pay for it, and we provide free tutoring services and academic support for disadvantaged groups, including students with disabilities and students who experience financial hardship. I've also been fortunate enough to participate here in Australia at UQ. Is one project that is very popular in my university, and it's called Student Staff Partnerships. So they are small projects in which students and staff from different departments and schools work together to enhance the student experience, to restructure courses that we have completed in the past based on our feedback, or to develop new websites or mobile applications that we use for the university, for students and the staff. And during these projects, I have also been able to pass my voice and participate as a decision maker for the services and the courses that we have at the university. So that's pretty much from me what I wanted to share during this event. But if you have any questions or you want to reach out to me and discuss a bit about my experience here in Australia or at UQ, please feel free to let me know.
Thank you so much, Jose. We really appreciate you taking the time to share with us your story. And it's just always great to really start off by hearing the student voice in these circumstances as well. I just think it's so wonderful that you're showing such entrepreneurial skills in wanting to reach out and help others as well, and starting your own social enterprise. So thank you so much for taking the time with us, and we hope that you'll continue to join us in the breakout rooms and share your experiences and stories as well. Thank you very much. I would love to now introduce Associate Professor Amani Bell from the University of Sydney. Amani has been working on a NESHE project. So NESHE is the National Centre for Student Equity in Higher Education, and NESHE has been doing so much work in the space of student equity and inclusion, and so we thought it was only right to partner with them for this session as well. And I should have mentioned right at the very beginning, this is National Careers Week, and NESHE this week is really focusing as well on inclusivity around careers and what that looks like. So if you want to know more about NESHE as well, I'll post the website inside the chat. But let's hear from Amani Bell, who's been working on a project and fellowship with NESHE. Amani, I'd love to hand over to you now, please.
Thanks so much, Bonnie, and thanks, Jose as well. So I'm going to talk about this project, exploring the benefits and challenges of online work integrated learning for students from diverse backgrounds. And I've just put my contact details there as well, if anyone wants to get in touch afterwards. Make sure the slides are progressing. Also wanted to acknowledge that this always was and always will be Aboriginal land, to pay my respects to the elders and to any Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people here today. I'm very fortunate to live on the lands of the KMI people of the Guy-Marigor clans. It's in Sydney. It's near Bantry Bay, if you know Sydney. It's a really beautiful spot, and it's got some quite significant rock art sites. This work is possible because of NESHI, which Bonnie has mentioned, so a huge thank you to them for their funding. And if you haven't already, I recommend signing up to their newsletter, because they send out some really interesting stuff. So this was our research team for this project. It's a group of researchers from the University of Sydney, and we did have an Indigenous student research assistant on the project, Guanang Moran, and we partnered with the US Department of State. And I'll say a little bit more about that partnership in a minute. So what do we know about work integrated learning, participation and student equity? So this was the report that Universities Australia did in 2019, where they got data from all Australian universities. So that if the overall average participation rate is around 37%, we can see that it's lower for Indigenous students, for students from low and middle socioeconomic status backgrounds, and students from remote and regional areas. So obviously that's a concern, and we wanted to see if online work integrated learning might be one way of removing or reducing some of those barriers to work integrated learning. So what is online work integrated learning? So we used this definition here from Yvonne Wood and colleagues. So it's where the student is doing an authentic work-based task or tasks or project, but they are physically separated from the workplace. So they might be doing that from home or somewhere else. So we were really lucky to partner with the Virtual Student Federal Service in the US. So this has been running in the United States since 2009. We think it's the world's largest online WIL program. They've had over 5,000 students go through this program. The various US government departments put up projects. There's a really wide range of projects, and then students apply and are selected. They work on those projects for around 10 hours a week remotely for around 6 months. Sometimes it's for academic credit, but more often it's that US internship model where it's not for academic credit. So it's quite different from Australia's work integrated learning model, which is more embedded in degree programs. So we actually put this project forward in 2019, and then 2020 happened. We all know what happened. So what that meant was there was a whole lot more online WIL in Australia. So it was interesting for us to be able to study that. Obviously not ideal what brought it about, but that's what happened. These were our research questions. So we were looking at the benefits and challenges of online WIL for students from equity groups, the benefits and challenges for educators. We were doing a kind of a comparison across the US and Australia with the ultimate aim of looking at how online WIL in Australia might be enhanced to better support the needs of equity students. Because this is quite a short presentation, we won't get through all of this. So I'm just showing you some highlights, and then very soon our final report will be available on the NESHI website. So we did a literature review via a qualitative research synthesis, which will be published in a separate paper. We did a survey of students, and we did interviews with students and with educators. This is just one of the survey findings that I wanted to highlight. So we asked students what they gained from online WIL, and you can see up at the top of the table quite a lot of students saying that they gained things like career skills, communication skills, a better idea of their career path. And then right down at the bottom of the table, only a third of students gained a better understanding of workplaces, and I'll talk a little bit more about why that was. Now I'm going to turn to some of the interview findings. As you saw, we did a lot of interviews with students and they were a very rich source of data. This was one of the findings of diversity as a strength. So students saying things like, my diversity made me a strong candidate for online WIL. It made me unique and it made me the perfect person for it. And both students and educators spoke mainly around language skills for this one, saying that things like being able to speak Spanish or Mandarin could be brought into specific projects to benefit the workplaces. Finances was another big theme coming out of the interviews. So students really appreciated not having to pay to travel and to stay in expensive locations like Washington, DC, or regional parts of the US or Australia or Australian capital cities. They appreciated not having to pay for public transport or for their car to travel to their placements. They were also often able to keep their part-time job while they were doing the online WIL, so they really appreciated that. Students and educators also spoke about caring responsibilities. So this image is from my son last year when we were doing homeschooling and I was attempting to work as well. You know, when's that call going to end? So I think a lot of us can relate to that juggling of caring responsibilities while doing online work. But it was also a benefit for some students. So students who were looking after family members really appreciated being able to stay at home and to work from home. One of the downsides of online WIL is that it was harder to develop rapport and that students missed out on a lot of workplace context, which I think points back to that finding from the survey in the table. So it was harder for students to participate in informal conversations, informal feedback, the kind of learning by osmosis or side-by-side working, connections with peers was harder. Educators said things like they're not getting the sights and smells of this workplace. They don't know where to come in on the first day and put their lunch. So there was that downside that it was much harder around that. Digital access was another issue for some students. So if they didn't have good internet or good broadband, that was a challenge. One student spoke about they lived in a very busy house, multi-generational household, and it was really hard to find a quiet space to have the online work meeting. So they ended up going into their cupboard, which is clearly very challenging. Health was another thing that students brought up in the interviews. So some students with anxiety said they actually preferred the online working. They felt like they had a little bit more control over that environment, whereas other students with things like ADHD found it harder to maintain motivation in the online context. A couple of things to think about is that online WIL can't be the only option for equity students, and we're certainly not saying it's a panacea that's going to solve all of these issues. So it can't be the only thing that we offer these students. And in-person study experiences and in-person work integrated learning can offer a refuge or a respite for some students from a difficult home background. So I think it's just important to keep that whole complex picture in mind when we're talking about online WIL. So some of our recommendations are, we think there are enough benefits to continue exploring and researching online WIL, including large-scale WIL. So it would be great if that US program could happen here in Australia. And I know that the innovative research universities are trialling that currently. So it's interesting to keep an eye on that. That educators learn more about online WIL and equity issues related to online WIL, that we co-design inclusive online WIL, and we look at systemic barriers to WIL, not just at an individual level. And also there are things we can learn from successful online learning that we can bring into the online WIL space. I think that's about my 10 minutes. So thank you all very much for listening, and I look forward to the discussion.
Thank you very much, Amani, for sharing these insights. And this is research that's hot off the press. So it's really exciting that we can now dive in and have a conversation around these findings. And let's find out from you guys whether or not this resonates with you, these types of findings. And I'd love to hear about some of the your thoughts on equity and access as well. What you'll see now is an invitation on your screen to a breakout room. Click into that room and I'll give you about 15 minutes, maybe a little bit more, inside those rooms. So when you're inside those rooms, I really encourage you to turn your videos on, unmute yourself, and just generally have a chat. Thank you so much, Jose. Thank you so much, Omani. The rooms are now open, so please go and enjoy the discussion. I'll see you back here soon. Beautiful. I can see a few people are moving now. Fabulous. That's great.